Good evening. Welcome to Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, and this is known as Gifts and Graces. My name is Casey Miller. I'm the founder of SWEHA, and we've been doing Gifts and Graces for almost 25 years, the first Friday of every month. And this could be one of the most exciting that we're going to do, and I mean that sincerely. Our mission is to help individuals discover their gifts and graces and support them as they go out into the world. So tonight, what you're going to have a chance to experience is exactly that we have graduates that have found their gifts and graces. It gives me goosebumps just saying that. And that this is the ultimate, where we have a chance to honor that they have done something amazing in the world. Thank you for being here to be witnesses tonight. It's fun that we have wild women and a couple wild men in the group. So I love that you're here to develop your own intuitive knowing that you have a gift, and that's really what this is about tonight. So I want to get started so that we, from right away, have a chance to hear about an exciting project. So you may have seen the book. Can you throw your book for just a moment? It's called The Wild Woman's Book of Shadows. And when I first saw the cover, don't you love this cover? Isn't this just beautiful? It's beautiful. I hope you can see it online as well. When I first saw this project come across, it was like, ooh, I think I have a chapter. This is a book that has been put together by Melissa Corter and 22 wild women. And I thought, wow, I think I might have a chapter. And it's really interesting because I went into silence and said, is this something I should be a part of? And I heard yes and no. Yes, you're here to help with it, but no, it's not a chapter. So it was like, oh, and I remember emailing Melissa and saying, I got a message from Spirit that I'm not a part of the chapter. And yet, on the day that they launched the book, I couldn't stop. I listened to every single speaker, and what I realized is that the way that we could support them is tonight. So it's one of those perfect examples of where you wonder what it is that Spirit wants you to do, and then it becomes very, very clear. So let me introduce to you Melissa Kim Corter, who is a best-selling author, an intuitive coach, a clinical hypnotherapist, and is the master of 36 different modalities, of which she said half of them have come from SWEHA here. Now, it's been exciting because she has gone through our hypnotherapy program, our clinical hypnotherapy program, our yoga nidra, and she's one of the very few people that I know that has done the entire clinical hypno and the yoga nidra. That's kind of a distinction. I don't know if you know that or not. You're kind of famous for that. She wrote a beautiful book on intuitive guidance and helped to write the curriculum and teach the curriculum online as well as on campus. That's now being passed to someone else. But what you're going to know about Melissa is that she's a starter. Like this is what she does, is she starts, she has big vision. So this book is just kind of a natural, I would say. She holds a bachelor's in psychology and she's pursuing her doctorate. So she's forever a lifelong student. Her specialty is overcoming emotions and helping those that sabotage prosperity. Ooh, isn't that a fascinating one? I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. I might just ask for a little, yes, we're all interested in that, yes. And that her success is that she is both metaphysical and scientifically grounded. So that's the uniqueness. And I think that's what you're going to find in the book. Those of you that have a chance to read the book fully, you're going to find that it's out there and down here. And that's what's really been exciting. Of course, it's just a natural that one of our longtime instructors, Celia McLaughlin, would be a part of it. She's been with us for over 15 years, and she's been helping us to develop curriculum for 13 years. Susie originally went through our massage therapy program and then went to the yoga therapy program, including the Yoga Nidra. Susie's gone and done advanced studies at the Amrit Yoga Institute and has just been a rock as far as being the woo and the woe, wouldn't you say? Absolutely. And so it's really exciting. I love that she's going to be sharing with us. She has a beautiful chapter that, again, talks about how do we ground ourselves in prosperity? What is it that we need to overcome? How can we become free to fully be as prosperous as we want to be? And so that's an exciting piece. Heidi is, this is kind of an exciting one. Heidi has been, how many years have you been here at Sweetheart? Off and on, yeah, I would have to say. And it's been exciting. She's the owner of Be Free Wellness and Yoga, another one that we could call a lifer that has gone through our advanced yoga program, our Yoga Nidra, that you received your diploma in the body-mind program, and now you're back in the associate program for body-mind. So thank you for that. Her vision is to grow her personal business and create a practice where individuals balance personal care, spiritual care, self-care. So thank you. Beautiful, beautiful. And then we're so excited to have Rachel come. It's kind of like go away, come home. Come home. Yeah. Rachel is a psychic medium. She is a painter, a professional spirit artist, and a Reiki master. She took her entire 100-hour Reiki program from us and then left, has gone and done some amazing spiritual growth and has had a chance to develop her business. What she loves is that she is launching into the world as a writer and now a bestseller author on Amazon. So it's so beautiful to have you be home. Come home. So with that, could you just give them a welcome? Yeah. We're going to start with how exciting. So I didn't want to know the answer so that you could hear the answer at the same time that I did. Melissa, where the heck did this idea come from? And how is it that you knew that Spirit wanted you to do this in the world?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. There's a reason I wasn't even clear about until the second of why this was called Call of the Wild.
Call of the Wild.
Exactly what you just said. I woke up one morning and I had this book downloaded in my heart. And I thought, to be honest, no way. I have way too much going on. I do not have time for a book. I don't even know where to start. And I knew, just like Casey mentioned, with being a part of the book and the chapter and how she just had that intuitive knowing, I also knew that this book wasn't only mine. I knew I was meant to be a steward of the book. And Wild Woman came to me. Wild Woman, this Wild Woman thing. And I'm like, what is this? So I don't know if you guys do this, but my spirit and my head sometimes get into these little things, we go back and forth. And so I'm arguing with my spirit, and I'm like, Wild Woman, somebody's got that. It's already taken, it's already a thing, why am I gonna create this? And sure enough, I went to my little, computer and Googled Wild Woman and just thought, out of curiosity, is this company available? Nobody had claimed it. Nobody had the domain, nobody had the company yet, and I knew it was for me, but I didn't know quite what to do with it. Well, at the same time, I had started school to go back for my PhD in psychology with an emphasis on archetypal studies with the work of Carl Jung. And so I'm like, Wild Woman, that's an archetype. What is this? Give me more. And I just kept feeling into it. I kept feeling into it, and day after day, more information would come through. I have a beautiful friend who I want to thank. Her name is Shanda Trove. She's the publisher of the book. So I reach out to Shanda and say, here's this half thought. I'm not quite sure what it really is. What can you do with this? She's like, we have to do this. This is going to be the most magical book. She is the one that that really guided me and showed me the imagery and the different styles of things we could do. And we just started to put it together. It was one of the easiest and most difficult things because it was a birth of sorts, which was the painful part. And it was easy because people felt the call. They wanted to be a part of this project. And I was almost embarrassed because I'm like, I don't even know what this is. Sure, you can sign up. You can be a part of something. I don't know what we're going to do here. And it was one of the most magical experiences of my life. And I'm just so grateful to share the stage with some of our authors. We have 23 authors in this book. And I still get so emotional when I read their words and their chapters because they brought it together. I created the container, but these women shared their stories, their hearts. They shared their struggles, their opportunities, and it really just came to life. It was one of those weird experiences where you have no idea what you're doing until it's done. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm super uncomfortable. I'm a little bit of a control freak, so that does not work well for me. And it was just a huge lesson of trust. And so as I was driving down here today, thinking about this experience and meeting these fabulous women that we're going to share this time together with, I was sort of downloading. I am a writer, I'm an author, so speaking is secondary to me. And so what I wanted to share with you as a part of this experience was a little bit of a download that I got about the call of the wild and explaining a little bit of the archetypal nature of wild woman, which, by the way, I had to really learn how to lean into, and it was extremely uncomfortable. To bring this book to life, I had to access parts of myself that I wanted nothing to do with. I wanted nothing to do with. I had to learn how to lean into the shadow a little bit more. I had to lean into discomfort. I had to be open to knowing that something wanted to move through me, and I had to let go of control. Not my favorite thing to do. So, I am a writer, I'm an author, just like these amazing women that are here with me this evening. So if it's okay, I want to share a little bit of this channeling that came through on the wild woman, and then we'll just go from there. Sound good?
Yes,
Yeah?
sir.
Yeah? All right. Let's hear it. We are the medicine we have been waiting for. In my life and coaching business, we reclaim the wild woman archetype. So just to start, I want to give you a little bit of an idea of the archetype. So an archetype, first of all, is a living blueprint that you innately are dialed into through the unconscious mind. And we have access to countless archetypes. Some of them play out all around us. Warriors, villains even, right? There's all different types of archetypes. Yet we often default to one, and this is the one that I see the most in my coaching business and in my life, that will actually keep us in a place of disempowerment. And that archetype is the wounded child. The wounded child is what evolves into the wild woman or man when he or she is loved, healed, and acknowledged. The wounded child shows up when we're vulnerable, when we don't feel heard, when we're triggered, or when we're in the grip of a complex. The wounded child arrives when we fear failure, when we fear success, or when we're feeling pulled into what I call a sacred wound. So my unconscious provided me these different sacred wounds, and I want to share a couple of those with you. The sacred wounds came through this automatic writing session, and they keep appearing all around. I don't know if you pay attention to the signs or synchronistic events, but they're everywhere. Being here right now is one of them, just as Casey mentioned. So these 5 sacred wounds are rejection, abandonment, violation, betrayal, and humiliation. Now the wild woman is the light side of the wounded child. So the wild woman does not fear these wounds. She no longer flees the sacred container of her body to avoid them. She knows how to give and receive without compromising herself. She activates her primal instinct and collects all the missing and fragmented parts of her being that are being held with each of these sacred wounds. When she first awakens, she's very primal and often messy. Sometimes she's angry, aggressive, until she learns how to hone her power and her grace. She then lives through a version of the hero's journey. This is where she goes out into the world, she lives her experience. It might be tragedy, it might be trauma or impactful moments, and she collects the medicine from those experiences, delivering it to those who need. And this essence that she retrieves, these lost pieces, these fragmented aspects of self, they're sometimes left behind, sometimes they're suppressed, sometimes they are parts of our being that we just don't want to look at or acknowledge. But the wild woman knows how to lean into that discomfort. This is the medicine. She also celebrates other women. She doesn't believe in lack or competition because she, or he, knows their magic. The Wild Women authors who are part of this book, some here, many hopefully watching and streaming with us tonight, they've all had this journey in different forms. And I call it waking the sleepy, wounded child to honor that instinctual stirring of the wild women in their bones. Their teachers, their coaches, their authors, their leaders, healers, artists, and each one has a different story and a different purpose. Some might heal a body, some work through art, some work with money wounds and ancestral patterns, but all of them are wise, wild women who know their magic. And so I'd love to now hand over the microphone to Susie, one of our wild women, for her to share some of her medicine.
Susie, let's go.
Thanks, that's an awesome intro. Okay, so I am often thought of here as one of the more grounded people that we are. I'm constantly trying to pull people back into their bodies. And I'm going to do the same with you, and yes, it does have to do with money. So what I would like you to do is just this moment in time, are you thinking about any sensations in your body at all?
Yes.
Or are you out above your body, kind of floating around? Or just right now, pull into your body, be able to feel the sensations that live there. And now I'm going to ask you something really hard. Here's the money part. I want you to think about your bank balance. And I want you to really hone in on, do you have any sensations in your body when you think about your bank balance? Where does it hit you? Does it hit you in the heart, in the throat, in your stomach, in your low back? Heart, I'm seeing a lot of people touching their heart. Okay. Throat. Okay. Stomach. Throat. Good. Congratulations on being in your body. It's a very brave thing to do. So one of the things that we played with in my chapter, and we're going to be playing with in a book that's upcoming, hopefully by the end of this year. It's been a long time coming. It's been about 8-year journey with this other book, but this book is the most important stepping stone to it. And I couldn't have even gotten started with it without Melissa's help. So I really appreciate her. If you were thinking about your bank balance and it came into your heart, how does money speak to the core of who you are? If it came into your breadbasket, into your power center, are you giving away your power to something that is an inanimate object, that is simply a tool to be used? If it is your throat, how are you not using your voice to be able to claim your true value? And would you be willing to step into that? So my chapter has got some practical stuff too, because that's part of who I am. So one of the things that I ask you to try, I have 4 rituals in my chapter, and I'm going to play with just this one. Since we've gone into being able to feel the sensations in the body, this is another thing to be able to go with. So ritual number 1, and I encourage you, if you want to take one thing away from here, try this ritual. Every day, once a day, look at your bank balance and speak gratitude over it. As you're looking at your account, think about what you are grateful for. It doesn't necessarily have to do with money in your account, but with gratitude for all the blessings in your life and how the money that flows through this account, through it, supports the things you are grateful for. It's important that both steps are done together. Then notice what you felt in your body and your emotions as you read this ritual. Did you want to skip this ritual? Did you resist opening and looking at your bank account? These sensations and emotions give clues as to how we are interacting with and thinking about money. Remember, money is simply currency. It is simply a tool that we use. And I have to bring myself back to that time and time again. It is simply currency. Today, I went to a place in my house that we hold magic money, because in that envelope, I say every time I take money out of it or put money into it, there's more where that came from. That envelope has never been empty, even though everyone in my house takes money from it. And sometimes puts money back in, mostly me. But every time, that's the rule, you have to say there's more where this came from. Everyone in my house does that. And it feels very magical, but it is the honest to God truth. That envelope has been in our house for 4 years now, and we started the envelope. I came home from having a really good day of massage. For whatever reason, everybody that day paid me in cash. And so I took my husband by the hand. Now understand that my husband is a computer guy, computer information systems, and it's very not woo-woo. So I took him by the hand and I said, you have to do this with me. He's like, I do? And I said, yes, you do. Just trust me. I took all the money, laid it over our bed, and had us both roll in it and laugh. And then I took that money and put it in that envelope. And for 5 years, it has always had cash in it. So it doesn't have to always be additions and subtractions, black and white. It can be magical. It's time to play with money.
Is this working? Okay. My name is Rachel Srinivasan, and I'd like to talk a little bit about unexpected gifts. And I realize that most people throughout their lives are on a search and have searched a lot for truth, and not only their truth, but what their purpose is. And I also realize that probably every single person in this room has been on this search, right, of your purpose and then your truth as well. So I'm gonna read a little excerpt from my chapter, which is called Spirit Art, and it's on page 132. I was a sensitive child, trying to keep up with the drama of living in 2 blended households. In fact, one looking at pictures of me back then would rarely see me smiling. Art was my escape from what was going on in my world. When I created my drawings and paintings, I would disappear into them. I poured myself into the creation process
and I never wanted people around me as I drew. Their comments were unacceptable unless they had had training in art, which was rarely the case because I have no artists in my family, and their bad vibes were always inexcusable. So now that I'm an adult and I grew older and then grew into the mediumship community. Is this thing on? Is it kind of, okay, great. Yes, so now that I'm an adult and I'm growing into the mediumship community, I realized and I discovered that I'm supposed to escape, okay? I'm supposed to escape into the ethers. And I'm not supposed to be afraid of what I see or what I don't see. I am supposed to go out and journey into the spirit world. And nobody ever would have told me that as a child, ever. I grew up in Nebraska, so nobody in my family was really into divination or mediumship or any types of spirituality. So I don't want to say like nobody in Nebraska did that. It's just that that's just how I grew up. And so when I give spirit art readings, I'm returning to the childlike state all the time. I'm returning to the childlike innocence and childlike trust that I have since lost. And it was really great. I know that Melissa was talking about this earlier, about the wounded child. And I really had to kind of lean into that and not be afraid of knowing that I am a wounded child and just kind of going with it anyways. Because when I communicate with spirit, intention is everything. So when I am trusting like a child, spirit and the universe is going to respond to that intention. And that is basically a major part of spirit art, is intention. And I have to simply trust a lot. There's a lot of trusting that goes on, and I trust my journey, and I trust myself now. And I also trust spirit quite a bit. So even when Casey was speaking earlier today about, should she be a part of the chapter of a group of this particular book or not, and she really paid attention and she really trusted, and spirit really said yes and no at the same time, because spirit does behave like that. It can be very frustrating at times, especially if you don't have a sense of humor. And yeah, so it was like yes and no. So she had to have a lot of patience with spirit and with her communication. And the same thing can go when you're trying to, the same thing goes when you're trying to draw spirit. And get down on a 2D piece of paper of what spirit is trying to show me. So trusting myself is how I discovered my gift of spirit art, and I never expected to be able to do anything like this. And I had to be very, very open to all of my wildest curiosities and trust that I would be okay if I studied them. So this once again kind of pulls back to the idea of the wild woman. I had to be really, really open as to all the things that I wanted to study and all of my insatiable curiosity that I had not dived into, as a student at ASU or as a student at like a private all-girls Catholic school in Nebraska. What did I not study that I really wanted to? Oh, I know. How about divination? No big deal. It's just the same run-of-the-mill course. So, but I really had to kind of listen to all the parts of myself that I had not listened to as a young woman. And I had to also trust that as an adult, no one was going to outcast me and nobody was going to judge me. And I didn't have parents there at that time to tell me, no, like, you're not studying this. You're not going to study spirit communication, and that there's something inherently wrong with that. Actually, there's nothing wrong inherently with spirit communication, because technically we're in communication with spirit all day because we are spirit. So when you think of it like that, just by breathing, you're in spirit communication. So there should be no shame, and we should never shame anybody for trying to communicate with the spirit world. Now, just in case you're not sure what spirit art is, it's a form of mediumship in which a spirit would like to communicate using art. And some of my first spirit art drawings were full body portraits. And even though I didn't know who these spirits were at the time, as I grew into spirit art, I began to trust my intuition more and more. Because I knew that if a spirit could present itself in a 2D fashion, and I had the head all the way down to the feet, and I was given all that sort of information, but at the same time, I didn't know the name and I didn't know the message. I had to face what the block is there. What is the information block? Because if spirit is able to tell me what it looks like, why can't it tell me the other details? And that is where I come in, and where I have to learn how to trust myself and my own intuition. Because I did study art basically my entire life, and so I understand that. I understand how images work and how art works, and I love art history and all this. But mediumship is the newer part of the equation that I'm still growing into. So that is why I would like to emphasize trust and self-trust during all of your searching. When it comes to searching for what your gifts are, it's all going to come down to you. Nobody can come to you and say, this is your gift, this is your gift, and this is your gift, A, B, C, and D. Right. It's actually, you're going to discover that. Because some of these gifts, you have no idea, they're not even labeled. Because when I discovered I could do spirit art, I had no idea I was ever going to be able to do anything like that before. I actually discovered it when I was at a camp, an International Spiritualist Federation camp, and I didn't even know what spirit art was really even until I signed up for the class. But then I became very well versed in it, and now I do it professionally. So spirit art has given me a lot of freedom, because sometimes when I talk about spirit art, people have no idea what I'm talking about anyways, so there's no pressure. There's no pressure to fit in. And, I'll explain what it is. It's a form of mediumship in which spirit wants to use art, but it is really unique. It's just the same, it's as unique as how we intuit information and how we receive information from the outside world, or any sort of interpretation of any type, of any sort of data, actually. And I do not feel like I have to fit into a certain group of people anymore, and I don't try to be a chameleon, and I don't try to fit into others' expectations of me. Because as a young child, I did find myself trying to always please others and always trying to fit into the good girl archetype. And as I'm sure many people might be familiar with the good girl archetype, but that never would have landed me in spirit art if I had just kept up that whole facade of trying to be accepted all the time. So I just completely quit all that. And I didn't need to be accepted. And another reason I don't feel like I need to be a chameleon is because when I give people readings and I'm able to see that I'm actually really genuinely helping these people, spirit is actually genuinely helping these people through me, that's all I need. That is the validation I need. And then also from work in spirit art, I also know I don't need validation, period. But it did take me a while to get there. The only validation I need is the validation from myself. And so that can be really scary because we're never ever taught that. We are never taught that. I had to be told that from spirit directly, and I was like, oh, okay, wow. So what I'm trying to say is this is all a journey. None of this happened overnight. My experience with spirit art did not happen overnight. My love of art and my journey with art has been an ongoing journey my entire life, but spirit communication is somewhat new for me. And because I know how to do it, and I know how to do it so well, I no longer try to fit in. Some of my friends still don't know what the heck I do. They don't know what I do, and that's fine. That's fine with me. Because when they need to know, and when they come to me, and when they're really curious, and it's the best spot in their lives for them, they will ask me when it's appropriate, and that is completely out of my control. And that's just how it is. I'm sure you guys have some friends probably in here that are not into woo-woo things, but you know that they'll come around at some point, right, and they'll kind of understand in their own perfect timing. And one example of not trying to fit into other people's expectations of me is when the book came out on Facebook. It was quite a huge day, and it was full of tears, and it was full of laughter, and I was really overwhelmed. It was a huge day when the book came out. So nobody in my family particularly came out and said congratulations, except a second cousin. But the second cousin did. So I love Jerry. He's awesome. But one family member did come out of the woodwork, and I had not talked to her in a very long time, and she just had a question about the book, and so I answered the question, and then she went on, after I answered the question, she went on to tell me about the process of change in her life. And I just thought it was so weird that she was telling me about the process of change in her life, and I thought, I'm not really going to respond to all of her long paragraph on Facebook Messenger because I don't know what she's talking about. And then also, it's kind of like my day. It's kind of our day because the book had just launched. And although I knew it was inappropriate for this family member to be talking about her process of her life, I knew it wasn't her fault because that's just the pattern that had developed over the course of my lifetime. It's just the pattern that had already established itself of me consoling other people when they were going through stuff, and me trying to dive in deeper to help them with their problems, and I was no longer going to do that. And so now is the time where that stopped happening. So now that I, delve into spirit art almost every day, it's not going to happen anymore. I'm not going to try to make myself seem smaller so that other people can seem bigger. Because if spirit wants to work with me, I need to feel empowered, and I need to stand up and be ready for things that are coming towards me, and I can't be always falling into other people's shadows and what their expectations of me, because who knows what those expectations are. They're not going to set those expectations for me. I will set them. And I do actually correct family members now when they do speak to me. I do. In a nice way. In a nice way, but I do. So let me see here. So basically, in conclusion, for me to follow my passion and trust myself and learn more about me, I had to stop putting myself last and other people first. And so like I said, I would highly recommend everybody in this room, if you're really dying to know what your gifts are. If you're on that search and you're on that journey, you always have to be very open with yourself about what your passions are. And don't let any rock be left unturned. I really want you to explore every single part of your psyche, because there will be things in there and mysteries about yourself that you have yet to discover. And those things, they might not have a label, and they'll be the most magical experiences that you could ever have. And don't ever give up. Even though I have discovered spirit art, and this is what I do when I help a lot of people through my readings and stuff, I'm still continuously developing myself as a psychic medium. There's no real end to spiritual development, and I'm sure that everybody on this stage understands that. There's no real end to it. Just like there's no real end to healing. You just keep going. And in order to improve myself and my abilities, I have to put myself first, and I can more fully help my fellow man and woman in the process. And I am my own medicine. Thank you.
That's right.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Heidi, and I'm very excited to be here this evening. And as Casey said, I have been in and out of Sweehaw for the last 10 years. It's been 10 years, and it's been quite the journey. And what led me here was really, I was in a place in my life where I was bored, just a little, didn't feel complete, didn't feel fulfilled, and I thought, what do I need to do? What do I want to do with my life? Because, I've always been the one being the caretaker, the person always doing everything from others, putting myself last. And so I was talking actually to my mother-in-law one day, and I'm like, I'm just not feeling fulfilled. I'm not feeling complete. And she said, go check out Sweehaw. And I was like, Sweehaw? And never heard of the place before. And so the next morning, no joke, driving to work, and there was a radio commercial that said Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, and I'm like, that's weird. Yeah, I'm like, I don't think I heard that right. So the next day I tuned in on the radio and did it again. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go check it out over there. I need a change. And I walked in and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's home. It's the old campus, and it was warm and it was loving, and the energy was just amazing. And so I met with someone, and I'm like, I don't want to do a program yet. I'm going to do life coaching. I can do life coaching. I deal with people every day, I coach them every day. So signed up for life coaching, walked in, didn't really know that I was going to get coached. And I thought that was like, that first 20 hours, I was like, oh, I could hide in here, because there was like 100 people. And I was like, okay, this is great. And then Linda Bennett actually said, if you hit this weekend and you're moving on, you will not be able to hide moving forward, so be prepared. And I was like, what are they talking about? So anyway, I went through the whole life coaching. Obviously there's a whole story behind it, but during that process, it was where I started to connect to myself. When I was a young child, which I refer back to in my book, I lived in the ethers. I, would be in the backyard, I would twirl around, looking up in the skies. I was very connected to angels, very sensitive, and I thought that was like the greatest gift, and it still is. It serves a very good purpose for many reasons, but as a child, it was like an escape. And so as I grew older, maybe I didn't have the backyard or the trees, things would happen that would, I would say, call it an emotional punch, or call it a trauma, call it experience that wasn't pleasant, and I could jump. I could easily just be out of my body. That's how I dealt with life in itself. So coming to Sweehaw, starting with life coaching, it was like, whoa, I have to feel. I have to be vulnerable. I cried in front of the class for the first, like my group for the first time, and I thought that was like, just the awakening of honestly, like my healing journey, not really knowing that at the time. But anyway, so for me, during that process, I learned about breath and breath work. One of the teachers would tell you like breathing, and someone had suggested doing a breath work and right before you get out of bed and really staying and connecting to your body. So that is what I wrote about in my chapter. So from a young child going to being in the ethers and then actually coming to becoming an adult at 40 and coming into your body, it was really uncomfortable. I felt life coaching was uncomfortable, but being in your body, staying in your body, experiencing the feelings, honoring the feelings, there's, yes, tears, rage, all of that, every emotion possible. Honestly, thank God for my breath.
Right.
I really do. So when this opportunity came up for the book, again, I was reconnecting because I shut off that whole being in the ethers. I get a lot of hits on things, and when you're younger, you're kind of made fun of for that. So I was like, the odd little child, so you cut that off. But there was a lot of experiences during this process where, I'm like, oh, little nudges here and there, kind of like the Sweehaw radio commercial. So with Melissa, she had posted out there about the book, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to be an amazing book. How cool is that? I'm like, that would be great, but, I want to write, but I'm an author, can't write. So I kind of just set it to the side and moved on from that. And then I did an Instagram post like in December, and one of my fellow yoga, peers, Mary, posted on there and said, I can't wait for you to write a book. And I was like, wow. I was like, well, I've always thought about that. We'll see what comes of it. And then the next day, after 2 months, the post reappeared. And I was like, okay, I know better. I know, listen to the nudge, listen to what's happening. I connected with my body, breathed into it, as uncomfortable as it was. I reached out to Melissa and said, hey, can you tell me about the project? I don't know how to write. I don't even know why I'm asking, but let's, tell me about it. So she reached back out and said, everyone's a writer. Everyone has something to write and express and share with the world. And I said, okay, well, ritual. I said, well, all right. So I honestly messaged her back. I said, I don't have no idea what I'm going to write about, what I'm doing, what a ritual is, but screw it. Let's put it that way. Sign me up. So I did. Anyway, I'm sharing all these, there's all the little pieces, when you're going through your journey that start coming together, when you really take that reflection and look back and taking just that first baby step, walking in the door here, listening to my mother and say, go check it out, hearing the radio station, walking into it, saying, okay, I'm going to do this, going back out, that was a little too much, then going back in, just going out, saying, what can I, handle, feel, process through it, to come full process to this point, to be a part of this experience, to say, sure, I'm going to write. And then really, when it came full circle, what are you going to write about? To me, it was the breath. And the breath is everyone's saving grace, in my opinion. When you come and decide to enter into this world, that's the first thing you do is take your breath. Your breath is with you your entire life. If anything you can ever depend on, it's your breath. And the last thing you take when you leave this life is your last breath. And to be completely connected to yourself in your body with your breath, it's the most healing experience and can bring you to wholeness and bring those pieces together to heal that wounded child, to support you through any feelings and sensations that you're going through. And you are always whole, and that breath is part of your wholeness. So, that's, it's a journey. It's a beautiful journey. And so I think now in life, I look at, there's times I want to go in the ethers, but I'm actually playing in the ethers and having a little spiritual journey. And there's times that I really do spend a lot of time in my body for wellness, for healing, for reflection, for, I want to show other women and men, or young girls and young boys, that, they should love themselves, accept themselves, no matter what trauma, no matter what their upbringing is, that they are whole and they can accept themselves for who they are, and to stand and have a balanced life within balance within themselves, within spirit, in their day-to-day. So,
Amazing. Oh my gosh, they're so amazing, these women. I just wanted to say something that Heidi just touched on too, which is that writer piece. And so we have 23 women in this book. About 17 of them are new authors. Never done it before. Maybe had written some, personal things. Nothing that they had felt comfortable sharing with the world. That to me is one of the most magical parts of this book, is the trust that they had, not only in me, but in the editor and the publisher, to take something so sacred and personal, to put it in a book and share with the world. And we didn't let them see each other's chapters until the final was done.
Wow.
So none of them could say, well, what are they doing? How is mine? No comparison was allowed. They tried. They tried all sorts of stuff. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. And it was just one of the most beautiful experiences. And to me, that is answering the call of the wild, right? That part of us that is asking us to do something that might be really uncomfortable. It might be brand new. It might be stepping into something that is extremely vulnerable. And every single one of these women, not only did they show up and bring their wisdom and their words and their talents and their heart, but they trusted the process. Because me, waking up in that morning, having that little download, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And yet all these, I did, right? Hindsight, I did. But in the moment, I didn't feel like I did. So I knew I could hold space for them, not knowing yet that they were a writer or an author. I knew I could do that because I had that same feeling. And it's just such a beautiful experience to witness people unfold. That is my favorite thing now. It's my favorite thing in the whole world, is watching someone say, I don't know. I don't know if I have what it takes. I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know if my words will matter. And you watch them from start to finish, and it's like the butterfly, right? It's the journey of this butterfly, this person that might feel very constricted and small, and I don't know if I want to be seen. I don't know if I can do this. And next thing you know, they're in this collective group with 23 women doing Facebook Lives. That was a whole other journey. That was new for many of them. To talk about their experiences, to witness the shadow part of their being, to claim the light of their being, to let all of these strangers in the universe, cyberspace, hear it all. And I will never, ever forget the experience. And I'm just so honored and grateful that every single one of them answered the call of the wild and joined the book. And I just want to offer that to each of you tonight. Maybe it's the call to write. Maybe it's the call to create, to express, to speak. It doesn't have to be in a business format. It doesn't have to be in a linear form, but there is something stirring in your bones. And I promise you, if you listen to that, if you acknowledge that, you may not know where it's going to take you, but you will be so incredibly grateful that you listened to the weird voice or the strange thing or the thing you just can't explain, but you just know. That to me is the call of the wild. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Casey, for having us. And we're
also acknowledge some of the other ladies.
yes, absolutely. So there's 23 authors. So there's us here, and then we also have a few other SWEHA graduates also. So we have Tracy Bradshaw, who lives in Colorado. We have, now my mind's gonna go blank. We have Erin Christine, she's local, but she's out of town. We have Sandy Hanshaw, who lives in Florida. We have, who else? Let's see, I'm looking for the Ginger Parrott. She's a nurse, and she lives locally here as well. I think she is actually in Tempe also. And let's see, any other SWEHA students? Melissa Jones, I believe, graduated from here as well. And I think that's it, yeah. So out of the 23, almost half of us were SWEHA students or graduates on some level.
They didn't know each other too through all of it.
You didn't?
No. So that's really the beauty of it. Like Melissa and I met this first time in person, meeting Melissa tonight. So and they did great in it. And so the beauty of the project, I'm loud, so
You're fine.
I think that's the beauty of it, that all these women came together, and for the community that's been involved in SWEHA, there's a connection. And as we were going through it, I'm like, oh, you went to SWEHA? Oh, it's just having that same mindset, collaboration, understanding, and growth together, and then you're like, oh my gosh, we are all interconnected in some way or form. So, and that this is, I say, in one small way, but it's such a large, thing transpired. So,
We've worked with each other for a little bit. I had no idea she went to Sweet Home.
yeah,
Just no
we
idea.
did the yoga and spirit art to the location, and
I mean, who would have?
yeah, and then we're like, oh, you did? She's like, yeah, you did. So you don't know. You don't know, you don't know. You always say something.
And will you tell us how we can get the book?
Yes, so we actually have some tables set up outside, so you can come out there. We have plenty of copies that we're happy to sign for you guys if you're interested. You can also find it on Amazon, and it's the Wild Woman's Book of Shadows. If you Google that on Amazon, you can get the Kindle version too.
And then one last thing, tell us about how you in one day became best-selling authors. That was a pretty amazing.
Okay, that was pretty amazing. So, okay, I have to give all credit, well, not all credit, but a large chunk of credit to Shanda Trove. She's our publisher. She's really the one that walked us through from start to finish what to do. Because I don't know if you know, there's a lot of working parts putting a book together. Not only do you have 23 authors, and I say this lovingly, you have 23 different personalities, right, that come along with that. So there's a whole lot to work with. So Shanda Trove is an amazing publisher. She's from Transcendent Publishing. And she, from start to finish, said, here's what we have to do. Here's the timeline of what we have to do. And we hoped for one category. We hoped to get best-selling author for one category on Amazon, and we ended up getting 9 categories, #1 bestseller. It was collaborative. If every single one of those women had to share, they had to be really uncomfortable asking their communities and their families to support the book. They had to step out of their comfort zone, because sometimes, being a writer, you put your thoughts on paper, that's one step, but now showing it to the world and saying, hey, by the way, will you buy this? Will you support this? Your family, especially a book that looks like this, shadow in the title. So it really was a collaborative effort of everyone getting behind it emotionally, energetically, and saying, this matters to me, and I'm going to put it out there, and that's where that came from. 100%.
Whew. You can see that we are beyond proud and happy that we were able to just in some small way help those that have graduated from SWEHA. With that, we have at least one graduate with us tonight, so could we have our graduate come up? Do we have more graduates in the audience that we didn't even know about tonight? Okay, good. We knew you were coming. So will you introduce yourself and the wild woman that you are?
My name's Tony Short. When I came to SWEHA, I was totally lost. I told my family that I said, I'm quitting my full-time job, I'm going to massage school, and here I am. 11 months later, did not miss all but 2 classes in 11 months. This was home. And my husband can tell you, because he's right there, that I literally did not see him for 11 months. I worked full-time, came to school full-time, did clinic hours, everything. And as soon as the license comes in, I have my own business set up. So I will be massaging Susie, is one of my teachers, and she helped me learn a little bit more about myself than I wanted to. If it wasn't for Joel, I probably would have quit in September. But this is home. And when they say don't leave SWEHA, you don't leave SWEHA. I already have classes planned for next year. There is no ending Sweetheart.
So the best thing that we can do to honor you, ladies, would you stand behind Tony? You'll come right up here.
And we just want to be able to bless you. You're going to stand right here. They're going to stand behind you. And Susie, will you speak words of affirmation upon this woman?
I'm so proud. Okay. I'm so proud of you. All the things that you overcame, all the growth that you experienced, and now you get to go out and share that with everybody in your business. And I'm so excited that you're going to be able to have great, great success. And share this peace that passes all understanding with them.
Thank you so much for the honor of having you in our presence tonight. We're going to adjourn the formal part of the night. Thank you for those that were on Facebook for tuning in. Hopefully you will take the opportunity to buy the book. It's a wonderful book of inspiration. So with that, we're going to close on Facebook. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're going to invite all of you to now, if you have any questions of our authors, that you ask them, and then they will individually be available. So good night, Facebook, and we're just opening up to see.